In the fall of 2005, leaders in business, education, and government participated in a forum to discuss the problems threatening the American dream for families across the country.
There's nothing in our lives more critical than helping people to develop their skills in order to have jobs, in order to have good lives.
Each of these leaders imagined themselves as someone else, as a member of an American family in crisis.
We're not just out of work, we're desperate. We're starting to get panicked.
A family faced with the challenges of layoffs and inadequate education and training opportunities.
There are extremely frightening proportion of kids who graduate from high school who can't do what we usually think of being high school quality work.
This program is a presentation of Jobs for the Future, working to improve America's education and skills pipeline.
We got a growing problem here that erupts in our face, much like Katrina.
We're going to meet a family from the old neighborhood today and examine some of the challenges they face. Bill worked in a factory here for 20 years until it closed 3 years ago. His wife, Sandra, is a home health aide. They have a son, John. He is in his first year of the community college. What are their prospects for upward mobility?
Their prospects for upward mobility are not very good unless they're lucky and extremely determined.
You know, it's interesting, when we were at lunch last week with some of our old friends from the neighborhood, they were certainly sympathetic to the fact that they're going through some difficulties, but they also seem to not be as deeply committed to worrying about Bill and Sandra from the point of view of their own lives or their businesses.
Our challenge is to get people to put themselves in the positions of others who've not been as fortunate, who have not had educated families to help them move it along, and to think about what happens if we don't help those families, because it just means the whole economy goes down.
I think it's being very short-sighted when we don't understand that in order for this great country of ours to maintain the leadership position that we have in the world, that we can ill afford to waste a single human resource.
Mr. Holzer, I want you to be Bill for me for a minute. Bill's 44 years old, and as we said, he's worked at this factory for 20 years. And while he was there, he had a decent job, some overtime, health insurance, pension benefits, and now that's gone. Are you ready to do something new, learn some new skills?
I'm willing to try, but I also have to wrestle with some realities. I have a family to feed.
Okay.
On my wife's income, it's very hard for her to support the family alone while I go off and sit at a community college, set classes 6 hours a day. I have 2 teenage kids who need to be around at least some of the time. So it's very hard to juggle. I need to work close to full time most of the time. It's very hard for me to do that and take classes. It's hard for me to do well in the classes that I've heard about, and I don't even know which of those classes is going to lead to a good job and which employers are going to want to hire me as a 44-year-old with a little bit of new community college training. So I don't really know what to do right now, and I'm not getting a lot of guidance.
What I do, because I realize it's a crisis, I pick up the phone and I call a manufacturing plant because you got a job, I need a job. But then I begin to see that Bill is multiplying. I've got 10 Bills or Marys. So I'm on the phone continually, begging people to find a job. Well, we find a few, but they are minimum wage or less. Bill doesn't want it, and he becomes angrier. So this is really impacting not only our little community and our little lunch table, but this growing sentiment is pervading the state. And as I move to preach in other churches, I find out the nation. So we got a growing problem here that erupts in our face, much like Katrina.
The problem is corporations haven't done enough in terms of allocating funds to training. They've focused too much on cutting costs, and we now see in a poll some increase in the amount of funding they're putting into training, and it's about time. And I think they've got to work to develop coalitions with educators and community colleges in local areas to lift up both the value we put on human capital and the delivery of jobs.
Well, let's see how that would work then. Mr. Fuller, Bill shows up at your place of work. What happens?
Well, you know,
specifically,
you go through the interview process and you look at Bill's skill set. Now, as I reviewed his resume, I found out one thing that was a little surprising. Bill had been a factory worker for 20 years. He'd gone through some very specific training in ISO quality standards. He'd done some statistic process control. He had learned a lot about quality and productivity and changing customer requirements. So whereas we don't have lathe machines, and that's what Bill used to run, we have flexo folder gluers. But those same principles of making something can apply to Bill just like it could to John, who retired last week. So I think there might be a spot for Bill in our factory.
Bill, sounds good?
It sounds great, but I read in the paper about Mr. Fuller's factory, and it's in Detroit, and I don't live anywhere near Detroit. And so I would love to get a shot at a job like that, but I might need some assistance locating the employer, getting some support for whatever retraining I need, and having help from someone putting those pieces together.
The big problem is that in most communities you don't have the kind of clearinghouse that ensures that the bills will find the opportunity, that the community colleges and other institutions know exactly what needs to happen in order to connect them with those jobs and the training that's possible. And so people throw up their hands because they don't know where to go. And even if they hear about something, they may be afraid because it is the unknown. So it's not just a regular clearinghouse. It's dealing with all the insecurities and challenges that people who may not be accustomed to doing that kind of work will have to
We've talked about the challenges here because not only are we seeing Bill's dream deferred, when he was working and doing well with a little bit of overtime, it was great for Sandra as well, because she was able to put aside a little money to meet her lifetime dream. And that dream was to move from a home health aide to become a nurse. Bill's lost that job and that support. And now the money they had that they'd been saving is really no longer available for Sandra to pay the tuition to go and study to become a nurse. Judy Curley, once you play Sandra for me, tell us how hard it is for you.
I work 40 hours a week, but I have to travel a lot to get those hours in because I'm a home health aide. So I have to travel to people's houses. We only have the one car, which means that the kids can't use it John can't use it to get to community college, and Bill can't use it to do any interview work if it's out of town. But I have to have it to get by because it will take me twice as long if I have to go by public transportation where there is public transportation. I get no health benefits, even though I'm a home health aide. None of these companies provide health benefits for me. And I've always wanted to be a nurse. There is an opportunity to take courses, but of course the courses would be in addition to the 40 hours a week, because even though they're tuition free, I can't afford to lose the little money that, even when Bill was working, our rent and everything else depended on 2 salaries. So with one, I absolutely can't give up 1 hour's worth of work. Not only that, but I, in the evenings, take care of my niece's child so she can go to school. And so I would need childcare, or she would need childcare. And childcare is safe, healthy childcare is really expensive. So I'd love to take these courses, but I can't see how I can do it without
sacrificing. Transportation, all those things are impacted.
And without sacrificing my family. And the truth is, we can't make the rent now that Bill's unemployment insurance has run out. So we're not just out of work, we're desperate. We're starting to get panicked.
Sandra, there's a way you can become a nurse and still work because of the investment the federal government has made, a lot of states are making, to get more nurses. It'll take you some time. You're not going to be a nurse in a year. But there are employers who will help you. I don't know if you can change jobs. You're in demand now as a home health aide. You're in an occupation where people need you. There are employers who will help you get your nurse's training. They'll pay for you to get that and work too. It may take you a couple of years, but there are community colleges who would welcome you. There are employers who will help you.
I want to talk about John.
Yeah.
John is about to drop out of the community college, his first year there. Without knowing anything else, tell us why John is dropping out of community college.
John's dropping out because he probably doesn't have the requisite math skills to be successful. People don't understand. It's tough that first year if you're going to go into any trade. He probably doesn't have the patience to go through tutoring that he's going to have to do to get up to speed. It may take him a year before he can take that first college level course.
I don't get this. John has graduated from the local high school.
Yeah, he has a diploma too.
Well, yes, and he has been a satisfactory student throughout.
A's and B's, I'm sure, or C's maybe.
C is satisfactory. Excuse me.
Yeah, C's.
He's got some B's too.
Yeah, he's been fooled by what that diploma means. Unfortunate for him.
There are extremely frightening proportion of kids who graduate from high school who can't do what we usually think of being high school quality work. And it's making it hard for them to go to the next level.
If you look at the strengthening our education and skills pipeline, the biggest break in the pipeline is that we don't have any technique in high school to put people on a non-college graduate career high-skilled path. And that's where the pipeline breaks down more than anywhere. And everybody, the corporations, the government, the governors, have to rebuild that pipeline in terms of partnership.
You know, we have these great programs that could prepare you to do just that. Okay, but overwhelmingly, that's not where the priority seems to be.
Well, tell us what you did and what you had to do.
Well, personally, my wife discovered a program called Year Up. It was just starting out. And it was a one-year program, technical. They teach you technical skills, but not just that skill. They teach you the professional skills, the communication skills, the follow-up skills to take you to the next level.
Employers have to come to the table and be involved in a lot of this, providing apprenticeship. But a lot of employers are reluctant to invest a lot of time with the school system, which hasn't often been friendly territory.
If you look at the straight demographics, there's the need from corporate America to find, train, figure out a way to bring new workers into the workplace. Why wouldn't it be in my best interest to set up that program and have that conversation with that young man when he's 16?
Ask for companies to step up to the plate. We're going to take our most experienced workers who have a background in math and science, and we're going to pay to train them to become classroom teachers in math and science. We're going to start off with 100 of our most experienced workers, people who have worked in the company, are engineers and computer scientists. We're going to pay for their education. We're going to pay them while they do practice teaching. We're going to put them into the classroom, and we expect to have 100 people in this program starting in January. We expect to have 500 next year, and we have an open invitation for other companies to join in and help so that John might get a math or a science teacher in K-12 who can be able to give him the kind of skills that might get him into a community college or might get him into a four-year college.
We have examples of success at addressing every one of these problems. We have wonderful corporate university internship problems and corporate K-12 internship and apprentice programs. We have wonderful programs that address women in math and science, and wonderful programs that, like the Algebra Project, that address inter-school black kids in algebra. We have successes. It's that we don't take what we know how to do and make it systemic and fund it and make sure that every child gets what is appropriate and what is necessary so that that child can achieve as much as he or she potentially can.
Yes.
And it's not as though we don't have great examples. That's the great frustration. We have succeeded at every single one of these things on a very, very small scale or at one time or another.
Final comment, Reverend Butts, the fate of the American dream.
The American dream is in good shape. We're going through a very difficult time, but there are men and women in this country from every level, corporate America, the public sector, as well as the grassroots community, who have demonstrated that we can work together. What we need now is leadership in this nation. And I think that the good visionary leadership that's out here will find its way to the top. An American dream will still be a possibility for anyone who wants to work to achieve it.
Funding for The Fate of the American Dream was provided by Jobs for the Future, Ford Motor Company Fund, and Johnson & Johnson. Additional funding provided by